Here's the sentence that should stop you cold. King Charles finally got to see his grandchildren this week, and according to one report, it may be the last time he ever does. Let that sit for a second, because it captures something genuinely strange about what just happened. This was supposed to be the good news, the healing. After 4 years, after cancer, after a war of interviews and books and lawsuits, a 77-year-old grandfather finally got Archie and Lilibet in a room. And within days of it happening, the story wasn't the family is mending. The story was, this might be the end. How does a reunion become a goodbye that fast? To understand that, you have to go back and watch how this whole thing actually unfolded, because it did not unfold like a reconciliation. It unfolded like a car crash in slow motion, and the meeting itself happened in the wreckage. Let's start where it started, with chaos. In the days before the visit, Harry's team briefed the British press that he had accepted King Charles's offer to stay at Buckingham Palace during the trip. A warm detail. The estranged son welcomed back into the most famous royal residence in the world. Except the palace then did something almost unheard of. They publicly denied it. They issued a correction, stating Harry would not be staying at Buckingham Palace because he had missed the deadline to accept the offer. Read that again.
The royal family took the extraordinary step of publicly contradicting Harry's own team hours after that team had briefed the press. That is not how families that are healing behave. That is two camps who don't trust each other, fighting through the newspapers in real time. And it got messier. Just 1 day after Harry confirmed the entire Sussex family was coming, Meghan, both children, the whole thing, staying in a royal residence Charles had personally offered, Harry reversed course. He announced he was reconsidering bringing the family at all. The reason? Security. And to understand why security is the thing that detonates every single one of these visits, you have to understand what happened a year ago, because this isn't a new argument. In May 2025, Harry lost his final court appeal against the British government's decision to strip him of publicly funded police protection, the protection he and Meghan lost when they stepped back from royal duties in 2025 and moved to California. He lost, definitively. The courts told him no. And afterwards, visibly shaken, Harry said he couldn't picture a world where he'd bring his wife and children onto British soil without that protection, that he genuinely feared for their safety. From that point on, each UK visit would be assessed one at a time, case by case, by a committee called RAVEC.
So when RAVEC reportedly determined, with barely a week to go, that Harry's family would not get full 24-hour police protection for this trip either, that wasn't a surprise out of nowhere. It was the same wall Harry has been slamming into for over a year, showing up again at the worst possible moment. Which is exactly why the palace read Harry's timing the way they did, because he announced the whole family was coming before RAVEC had ruled, and to the people inside that building, that sequence looked deliberate. Now, here's where the palace's fury comes in, and it's worth hearing in the actual words being used, because the people inside that building did not read this as a father protecting his kids. They read it as a stunt. An insider told Heat, "Everyone knows the king put his reputation on the line to accommodate Harry's family, so this last-minute flip-flopping is bewildering and infuriating. It only served to further antagonize senior figures who say Meghan and Harry are self-obsessed drama-mongers who are incapable of doing anything without causing stress." And the sharpest line, aimed straight at William's state of mind. Prince William in particular is furious at what Harry and Meghan are putting the family through. He feels they're toying with the king's emotions while he's battling cancer. It's cruel as far as William is concerned. Toying with the king's emotions while he's battling cancer.
That's the heir to the throne's reported view of his own brother. In the week the brother came home. And that view didn't come from nowhere either. The William-Harry relationship isn't strained. It's effectively broken, and it has been for years. In Spare, Harry described a physical altercation with William at Nottingham Cottage in 2019. His brother, he wrote, grabbed him by the collar and knocked him to the floor. Every leak out of Kensington Palace for months has painted a picture of a man who is done. William reportedly believes Harry should be, in one royal author's phrasing, exiled as far away as possible, and has told friends he blames the stress of the Sussexes' departure for aggravating Kate's cancer. He connects his brother to his wife's illness. That is the depth of it. So when William looked at the security chaos and called it cruel, he wasn't reacting to one incident. He was reacting through 6 years of a wound that is never closed. And then royal author Tom Sykes said the thing that turned suspicion into an actual accusation. Speaking about why Harry would announce the whole family was coming before Ravik had even ruled, Sykes said, "I believe it was entirely cynical. It was an attempt to bounce a cancer-stricken King Charles into intervening in the Ravik process to grant Harry the security coverage he has spent years demanding and been repeatedly denied. Sit with what he's alleging, that the announcement wasn't a plan, it was a lever."
That Harry announced the children were coming specifically to put public pressure on a sick king, to force him to personally intervene and hand Harry the security he'd lost in court a year earlier. Whether that's true or not, that is what senior figures around the palace reportedly believe happened. And a palace source put the emotional cost bluntly. This has all been insulting and highly upsetting for Charles. Everyone knows he's been longing to spend time with his grandchildren. The fact that this all kicked off barely 24 hours after they confirmed the visit is seriously suspect. So that's Act 1. Public denials, a last-minute U-turn, a furious heir calling it cruel, a respected royal author calling it cynical manipulation of a cancer patient. That is the atmosphere going in. That is the wreckage. And then, against all of it, the meeting happened anyway. This is confirmed. ABC News reported it. Despite the chaos, despite the security fight, despite everything, Harry brought Meghan and both children to Highgrove House in Gloucestershire, and King Charles and Queen Camilla hosted them. It was the first time Charles and Camilla are known to have seen Meghan and the grandchildren since 2022. Archie, 7, Lilibet, 5, who was too young at her last visit to even remember it. 4 years of distance, and it finally closed, for one afternoon, in a house in the English countryside.
And even that moment, the good moment, the one everyone supposedly wanted, carried 2 details that should stop you. First, Camilla was in the room. The woman Harry has spent years publicly blaming for poisoning his father against him. The person he's called dangerous. The one reporting claimed vowed to make this visit as miserable as she could make it. She was right there, hosting. Whatever that means, it isn't simple. Either something has thawed that nobody has announced, or Harry wanted his father so badly he sat across from the person he blames for everything and let it go for one afternoon. Second, and louder, William was not there. Harry was in the country for 5 days. His brother never saw him. The future king, on the same small island, would not cross the distance. And not a single photograph was released from the Highgrove meeting. No image, no detail. From an institution that knows exactly how to deploy a happy family photo when it actually has one, total silence. You don't hide the picture everyone wants unless you're not sure the thing in the picture is going to last. And if you released a warm image of Charles, Camilla, Harry, Meghan, and the grandchildren all together, while William sat at home refusing to be part of it, the empty space in that photo would be louder than everyone in it. And it turns out, according to the reports that came after, they may have been right not to be sure.
Because this is Act 3, and it's the part that reframes everything. Now, I want to be straight with you about where this next part comes from, because it matters. The following is from Woman's Day, citing a source, and from Rob Shooter's Naughty But Nice, which are tabloid outlets at the far end of the reliability scale. This is a claim, an unnamed source, not a confirmed fact. Take it with the appropriate amount of salt. But it's being widely reported, and here's what it says. According to these reports, Meghan has drawn a red line. A source told Woman's Day she's told Harry there's nothing for them in the UK, and she's drawing a red line on any future reunion. She's not going to let this humiliation slide. The humiliation being referred to is the palace publicly reneging on the accommodation offer, the Buckingham Palace denial, the whole circus of Act 1. A separate source told Shooter she believes every time he reaches out to his family, they find another way to snub him. As far as she's concerned, she'll never see them again.
And here's the part that lands hardest, if it's true. Because this reunion was never really about Harry and Charles making peace. It was about the children. Charles has been, in the reporting's words, clinging to the hope that mending things with Harry would let him actually know Archie and Lilibet before it's too late.
And if Meghan has genuinely decided the family is done, if she's decided there is nothing in the UK worth putting her children through this for again, then the person who pays for that is a 77-year-old man with cancer who just got one afternoon with grandchildren he may never see again. One source put it in the bluntest possible terms. This could be the last time Charles sees them. And the detail that makes it sadder, the children are so disconnected from him that, according to the report, they don't really have any concept of him as the king. And that, the source claims, is exactly how Meghan would prefer it to stay. And Harry, according to these same reports, is starting to agree with her. The source claims Harry's humiliated, not just by the royal rejections, but the realization his family do not care. And on Meghan's push to effectively end contact, he's not entirely comfortable about Meghan's push to ban his dad from seeing his kids, but it's fair to say he's becoming just as disillusioned and resentful as Meghan, and is starting to not care so much if Archie and Lilibet ever set foot in England again. So let me put the whole arc on the table, because that's the only way to see what this actually is. It began with a fight, public denials, a security standoff, a furious air, an author accusing Harry of weaponizing his own children to pressure a dying king. It peaked with a genuine moment. The kids at Highgrove, the grandfather who waited 4 years, Camilla in the room, and William pointedly out of it, and not one photo to prove any of it happened. And it may have ended, days later, with a red line, a wife who's had enough, a husband sliding into her resentment, and a grandfather who might have just had his last afternoon with 2 children who don't even fully understand he's a king. Here's my honest read. Every side of this has a real grievance, and that's what makes it so bleak. The palace has a point. You don't brief the press that you're staying at Buckingham Palace and then let them correct you. You don't announce the kids are coming before the security's confirmed unless you want the chaos. William has a point. The timeline genuinely doesn't flatter Harry. And Harry and Meghan have a point too, and it's the oldest one, that every single time they engage, it turns into exactly this. A public mess where they come out looking like the villains, and at some point, any person would stop walking back into that. All of those things can be true at once. That's not a family with a misunderstanding. That's a family where everyone is right and nobody can win. The children hugged their grandfather this week. That's the image. And underneath it, the denials, the fury, the empty chair where William should have been, the photo that was never taken, and a red line reportedly drawn the moment the visit ended is the real story. A reunion that may have been a goodbye, an old man who got his one afternoon, and 2 kids on a plane back to California who might not come back while he's still alive to wait for them. We'll know soon enough whether the red line is real, or whether it's just this week's version of the drama that follows this family everywhere, whether Meghan means it, whether Harry follows her, whether Charles ever gets a second afternoon, or whether Highgrove was the whole story. But if these reports are even half true, then the most important thing that happened this week wasn't the reunion. It was the quiet decision, made somewhere between London and California, that there would never be another one.